Today is the first announcement from our administration around a very special project with respect to renewable energy that our counselors have started, and we're going to hear a few words from them in a moment. But we are excited to go full speed ahead on our program to develop renewable energy in Albuquerque. And so this is part of the 25% by 2025 program that our counselors set up, and we're going to try and extend that so that we eventually are a net zero payer when it comes to electricity costs. And so another way to look at that is to basically say that our electricity bill, hopefully by the end of all these projects, is going to be a lot closer to zero. That's the goal for this administration, a net zero electricity bill. So we are excited to get started on this project. And so here with us today, we've got our Chief Operating Officer, Lawrence Rael, and we also have our City Councilor, Ike Benton, and also City Councilor Pat Davis. And they're going to talk a little bit about their legislation in a minute. But what it did was basically allowed Albuquerque to apply for something called CREBS bonds, which is Clean Renewable Energy Bonds. And these bonds basically can finance the installation of solar panels throughout the city government and city buildings, and they don't cost taxpayer money. So this is what's allowing us to move fast. And this financing structure was also set in place by our senator, our federal senator, Senator Heinrich. So we want to thank our senator for helping with this, and also his staff is in the back if you have questions for our senator. So our city now has 24.8 million in bonds that have been approved. And the great thing about these bonds, as I mentioned, is that we're going to see a return in three ways. Number one, the bonds are actually paid back through the energy savings. Secondly, the lifespan of the panels is longer than the amount of time it takes to pay off the bonds. So essentially, we sort of make money on the deal. And finally, this will produce more electricity for less money. So the project is the first concrete step that we're taking as a city to reduce our city's carbon footprint. And this is a commitment that has to do with utilizing our sunshine and also reducing costs and keeping our city clean and honoring our commitment to the Paris Accords, which we signed last month. So we're excited to announce the beginning of this, and we have selected 10 initial sites across the city where we'll be doing these projects. We've got 7 fire stations, and then the main library, Alamosa Community Center, and Ladera Golf Course. And fire stations are, of course, a great place to install these because they're occupied 24/7 as well, and therefore use energy day and night. The second phase of the project is going to be about installing solar at 20 other facilities around the city, bringing the total to 34 sites. And so the renewable energy sector, we know, is also growing rapidly through this project, and we're excited that we've asked 9 vendors to apply for these, and these 9 vendors also have to use local workforce. So we're going to make this a job creation project for our city as well. Now, these projects are really part of a trifecta for our community. We're going to be able to reduce the carbon footprint, we're going to be able to create jobs, and we're going to be able to save money. And that is why this is a very exciting announcement for our city. And so with that, I want to introduce our city councilors and ask Councilor Davis and Councilor Benton to share a few words.
Thanks, Mayor.
Councilors.
Thanks so much for being here today. Some of you were, some of you were with us at the City Council almost 2 years ago when Councilor Benton and I began that project to start our 25% by 2025 program. And we got to that place with unanimous support from the City Council and the former administration, but we turned to each other the next morning and said, okay, now how do we actually do that? And so we began looking around the country at cities who had used these, could achieve these goals. And by working with Senator Heinrich, who's a former city councilor and knows the benefit of what cities can do, we were able to put this new program into place. And I want to acknowledge while we're here some of the facility staff that have been working with our office from the City Council office and city facilities for more than 2 years to try to evaluate the solar and the renewable energy potential for every city building across the city, from fire stations to community centers. And when we got to the end of that process, we realized that for our fire stations that we're announcing today, for example, we paid $1.6 million to P&M last year for fossil fuel driven energy, and reinvesting that money in solar to make those facilities eventually be carbon neutral and energy neutral for us saves taxpayers money. And then we went one step further. we wanted to be sure that we were incentivizing our local workforce. And in this morning in the Business First, we see news report that just came out that showed Albuquerque's solar and New Mexico's solar energy job growth slowed for the first time in a decade, in part because of federal anxiety around the federal programs that the new administration and around the country folks have had that is reprioritizing dirty energy and more expensive energy. And so our solar companies are worried about their local workforce. This project, just the first phase alone, will put 100 local workers to work on city buildings for more than a year and create permanent jobs for another 20 of them just to maintain and continue and to do that work. That's the type of future that we used to say we're bringing to Albuquerque. Now those future solar jobs are our workforce, and the city of Albuquerque is a leader in making sure that our local workforce is a national leader in that work. So I want to commend and thank Councilor Benton for his work on this together, Mr. Real, all of our city staff, and the new mayor to have a new partner in helping us to push this forward even faster than we imagined last year when we got started. So thank you, Mayor, for the work on this. Thank you to our staff. I'm anxious to climb up on the roof of a fire station and show off some new solar panels. So thank you. Councilor Benton?
Thank you. As the mayor said, you know, we can go even farther than 25%. I think 25%. I'll be honest with you, when that number was picked out of a hat, I think, as a goal, it was a very modest goal, and I think we're seeing drastic changes just since the day that we discussed those percentages way back when. And I also want to thank specifically Senator Heinrich for his work on this and helping us with the bonds and the whole program. I've been here for 40 years now, so 4 decades of solar. You know, when I came to New Mexico, it was in part because I saw our state, and it was the leader, the national leader in solar, with the laboratories and also just homegrown industry, homegrown backyard solar was big. We've moved far beyond that, right? We've gone through the years when a new president said, well, we don't need that anymore. And so some of the federal incentives went away. We proceeded into years when there really just was no solar development, next to none, other than passive solar, home building and such. But now we're here today with many more opportunities given the way photovoltaics have been driven down in cost. And I think we're in a position now to go far beyond this 25% goal. And I appreciate the mayor actively taking the first step on really moving the first phase, I guess we would call it now, of the system that was put together by Councilor Davis and myself and the senator. So thanks to everybody. I think we can keep moving. Also, really appreciate the mayor having signed the Mayor's Climate Initiative. And I think that's also an opportunity for us to perhaps take a look at our climate action plan, which was completely ready to go in 2010 before it was shelved. And this can certainly all be part of that. So, thank you.
All right, and Lawrence, did you have anything to add on some?
A couple little
Sure.
things.
Yeah.
So just a couple of specifics on the project itself. First of all, there's 7 fire stations that will be outfitted with solar panels. The Alamosa Community Center is another building that will have solar, and also Ladera Golf Course, the facility itself. And then the Albuquerque Main Library will be the other project that we'll see, which is a fairly visible project because it's right in the downtown area and significant. We're evaluating many of the other facilities, and as our elected officials have said to you, and the mayor has tasked me directly to ensure that all our operating departments work very diligently on ensuring that we get to the goal, and we're working very hard on that. So thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. All right. Well, and our counselor mentioned too the team who's really behind this over here in facilities and Ken Mitchell's shop. So I want to thank them. And then we are available for a couple of questions if folks have some. Pretty thorough start, actually.
What's
So
the time frame on these?
Good question, actually. Yeah. So we think we're going to be able to complete this in the next 2 years, and obviously we're going to also try and supplement it with some additional projects. And so hopefully too, we're going to be able to kind of take this show on the road, and we'll be back together again on different rooftops all around the city in the next few years.
That'd be the first phase in 2 years.
Yeah, that's based on the current timeline.